Hey guys, it's Olivie Blake, and this is me not writing. So I was going to give you sort of a more exciting view than this white wall that's behind me. Normally Mr. Blake's bike is there too, and I was like, oh no, they must be missing his bikes. They haven't seen them in a while. They're probably worried. But then I remembered he's using his bike, so it's not here. And also I get to be on my couch, which is a place I don't leave very often these days. I'm wearing my ripped bodice, wear a mask, stay home, read a romance novel sweatshirt. So just putting that out there. They have super cute Christmas gifts if you're still looking for things. So quick plug for them for no real reason except that I wish someone would give me their little monthly subscription thing, which is so cool. No one will give that to me, probably. I also got a matching bow tie for my sister-in-law and her Yorkie from Twinnery, which is who made the bow tie that my dog was wearing, if you've seen that one. But that was from the summer collection, so I got a good houndstooth for winter. There is not that much to talk about because the number one ask I got this week was to talk about Taylor Swift's new album, but we'll get to that. What has happened? So the third week of A Little Light Pining has posted, and it was me! Surprise! I really like this story. I hope you enjoy it. I did not really intend for the end to happen the way that it did. I thought it was going to be one of my more... You know how I love to write fake dates at awkward dinner parties? I write this very much. I feel like this is my number one most used trope. Maybe after the lovers to enemies to lovers again. After that would be embarrassing family dinners. And so that was my one main focus, and then a lot of other stuff ended up happening. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it, I don't know, funny or comforting or whatever it is that you find it. Please enjoy it. I probably will have reblogged some of my old holiday stories as well, just for funsies. Why not? Spinning Silver is our spell book. I ordered it a long time ago and my copy's not here yet. So I was going to show it to you and be like, look at this beautiful paperback copy that I waited a long time to get because I prefer the paperbacks to the hardcovers. And I don't have it. So you're just going to have to imagine it and or get your own. We'll see it someday. Maybe. I also got a copy of The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood, which I just recently read. I read The Handmaid's Tale when I was in high school, and I thought that was so cool because it's like the first time I'd ever read dystopian fiction because The Hunger Games hadn't been written yet. And so then I went to Margaret Atwood's back catalog, which is huge, looking for something like it. And I picked up The Blind Assassin, and that was a bad choice for teenage me because teenage me definitely was not going to be invested in this book. Adult me, very into this book. I really enjoyed it. I should look if there's fan fiction for it. I would love it. I just got... A couple people have referenced the Mr. Brightside and the Atomic Bomb story that I wrote sort of like over the summer-ish. That I started when the pandemic started and I'd finished in October. I've referred to it as the Killers musical. You don't actually have to know the songs by the Killers in order to read it. I mean, it's primarily a story. I got a pretty good review on it the other day that made me happy. Someone referenced it. Someone brought it up in reference to one of the songs on Evermore. So yeah, it's exciting that people read this story that was like kind of the only thing that I could work on this summer. We're going to talk briefly about motivation. Mine was extremely, extremely low, and really all I could put out was this one story. Pretty much. Really cool that people who have read it are remember it, and it's sticking in their minds. Yes, we did it. So yeah. Mr. Brightside, and then now I think we can move on to the subject of Taylor Swift. Okay, so Evermore. I think it's sort of a popular opinion that Folklore is better than Evermore, and I agree. I have described it as Folklore feels like the cooler, slightly more interesting older sister, and then Evermore is like the younger sister who can definitely come along because more of the same is not a bad thing. But yeah, it was just, Evermore is just more Folklore. I mean, basically these two albums are just going to get combined into one playlist henceforth, and I will just listen to it all together, most likely. But I just felt that there were fewer individual standouts on this one than on Folklore. But I definitely like a lot of them. My favorite is "'Tis the Damn Season." It reminds me a lot of Porter and Cecily from Saints and Liars, or the story Never Blink that's in Amortentia, which is a Pansy and Percy, and I love that one too. And then someone brought up Sam Kinney in reference, or brought up Dorothy in reference to Sam Kinney, which is, I love that. I love that. And what else? Someone said "Cowboy Like Me" sounded like something that I would write, or reminded them of something that I would write, which is definitely true because I love writing con artists and heists. But I don't know if I've ever written con artists falling in love with each other. I feel like I probably have, but I can't think of any specific examples. So I will have to either write one or get back to you on that. I feel like more often, though, I write one that's a con artist, and then they kind of sometimes rope the other person into the con, but rarely are they both conning people. I think that would just be so unfortunate for them. Be so counterproductive to the con. Maybe that's why I don't write it. I thought "No Body, No Crime" was fun. I wish someone would mash it up with "Should Have Said No." I think that would be a great combo. I also think it could have been like more fun. Like maybe we could have gotten the Dixie Chicks, the Chicks. I feel like that's not much better, by the way. But anyway, could have gotten them on that track. But, you know, I liked it. Last time I complained that Taylor didn't collaborate with any women. This time she did, and they killed a man. So, like, good job. Yeah, I don't really have very interesting commentary. I think someone did speculate as to whether Taylor would be leaving the industry. And I feel like there's a lot of speculation about why she's releasing all of this. I think she kind of like sets herself up for speculation because she makes everything she does mean something. But in this case, I'm not sure that it means anything. Some people think she's trying to cover up a secret wedding or a secret baby. Some people think she's pregnant. I think she just really likes to write songs and is bored. I have tickets to her Loverfest concert, or I had tickets. It was supposed to be in July. And then obviously it got delayed. And I think she just like, she would be touring and she would be working on her choreography and all that. And she doesn't have to do that. She's got all the free time in the world to just like sit at home and be bored and watch movies and stuff. So if I were her, I would probably also write a bunch of songs. I'm not her, and I didn't write any songs, which is so unfortunate for me. I think it's more of an escapism thing. A lot of folklore and Evermore are fiction, and I think that people are sort of caught up looking for truth or looking for a secret, and I'm sure if I'm wrong, then like, okay. But to me, it just feels like she's just writing stories where people run away and disappear with their lovers and live happily or unhappily ever after, because she's a creative person who is trapped in her house, as are we all. I write a lot of escapism. I don't think anyone has ever brought up the fact that most often, the majority of the time, my happily ever afters are two people running away together and like just traveling the world and just disappearing. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to disappear from the publishing industry. It just means that sounds fanciful, and that sounds like the best possible outcome is if you're writing this sort of imaginary experience of a person who has all these pressures in the world. This is the whole thing about cottagecore, is like running away with the person you love and just being isolated in your cottage. So yeah, that is kind of my take on it. And I think her whole thing about not knowing what's coming next, I think that's just literally, I don't know what I'm doing next. Maybe I'll write a third folklore. Maybe I'll just keep writing folklore. And if that is the case, I won't be mad. Not mad at it. I think that, yeah, the thing is just that with folklore and Evermore, they have the same atmosphere so that you can play them and then you're in that mood, and it's very hard to like shift to another mood, or like I wouldn't put those songs on a playlist with other songs. It wouldn't really work for me, which is also why I hope that whatever concert I end up going to, because I still have tickets, to what? I don't know. Am I going to a Lover concert or am I going to a Folklore and Evermore concert? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll take either. Actually, Mr. Blake was telling one of the teachers that he works with that like a much older man, I believe. He was like, oh yeah, my wife has Taylor Swift tickets and I might have to come with her. And the teacher was like, wait, do you not want to go? because I'll go. And I thought that was very funny. And Mr. Blake was like, I mean, I'll probably go. The only other thing I would talk about would be motivation, because someone brought up, / I brought up that I've been having a real lack of motivation lately, and someone else sort of followed it up with they are as well. This is like a really weird time to be working on a manuscript. It's just hard to focus on anything. Like, I really have to applaud Taylor Swift for getting a whole other album done, because I mean, I've got a lot of things going on. If we find out that she's pregnant too, and like she has all, like, I'm just gonna feel very terrible about myself. Okay. But yeah, so I'm kind of like this whole, everything is just very trial and error. I've started probably at least, I've gotten about 20,000 words into 2 or 3 different manuscripts and then decided they weren't the right project. It just didn't feel right. And then I picked the project that I think is going to be the right one. I'm not going to talk about it yet because who knows? It's another, you know, girls doing boy things in a completely different way. So I'm trying a couple of different tactics. One is that I have picked an idea. I haven't overdeveloped it. I just sort of decided what I think the first like fifth of the book is going to be. And I'm taking it in very small chunks. I do essentially 2-hour sprints at a time. Normally, like, it's very sad. It's been very hard for me to adjust to my changing energy levels, like both my motivation level and then like physically. Yeah, everything is a lot harder for me now. It's like a mix of, you know, the quarantine depression, the seasonal depression, everything's just sort of gloomy and I'm trapped in my house, and now the holidays are coming and the days are so short, and also now I'm pregnant and I'm tired all the time, and it's just a lot of things sort of converging that make doing work very difficult, or like anything that I would normally do so hard. I just don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of stamina anymore for basically anything. And so now I essentially just sit down for like 2 hours and bang out like half of a chapter, because my YA chapters are much shorter. So I have the thing that I'm like sort of plugging away at, and then I have the other thing, the persuasion adaptation that I'm playing with, that would be an adult romance that I'm doing just for fun, sort of like the Mr. Brightside project, where it's just like, this seems like the emotion that I want to tap into right now, and I'm just not going to worry about whether or not this is like publishable or marketable yet. I'm just going to write it because that's the mood that I feel like existing in, and then I'm going to have my other project that is more like, let's just get this one done. I will say there's something very difficult about writing a second book. I think it's a lot of, I mean, obviously I've written many books, but for some reason this one is harder, and I think it's a fear of failure thing. That's like, the first one went so well, even though you won't see it until 2022. And it was so like overwhelmingly well received that now I'm worried, because the second book has to be essentially the same thing but better. And so it's kind of a mix of, how do I repeat sort of the formula for this thing that I got right the first time, but make it improve upon it. It's challenging, and I think that before there were no real expectations. It was like, maybe this will be successful, or maybe not, and if it's not, then we'll just keep going, we'll just keep pivoting and trying something new and keep doing new things. And now it's like, okay, you found the thing that works, do it again, but make it better than the first one. So, I mean, even repeating the success is already so hard. Like the sophomore slump, like it's scary. I'm hoping it's not real. I mean, I think I did feel the same way after I was writing, I think that One for My Enemy was intended to be my second book after Masters of Death, and then I ended up finishing Lovely Tangled Vices first, and so that one came second. And I remember not really feeling very attached to it, because I was so attached to Masters of Death and so had such high expectations for One for My Enemy, that Lovely Tangled Vices was like the perfect thing to like, let's just slip this in here. Like, I wrote this one, I think it's pretty good, like, let's just go with this as book 2. Because of the way publishing works, you only get so many chances, so I don't really have the freedom to just sort of start thinking about book 3. I have to really make book 2 good. And I think that pressure is hard, and finding motivation is hard, and focus is hard. And I haven't necessarily found anything that works yet. I'm kind of doing two different things. The young adult manuscript, it's just me, just getting through that based on my own sort of self-discipline. I'm just going to work like 2 hours a day. We're just going to bang out however many words. I think right now that's turning out to be about 2,000. And then the persuasion project is something that I'm having other people read with the hope that knowing that they're waiting on it is going to help me keep going. So I guess it just depends on what your personality is. Keeping yourself, either keeping yourself in check, if that's easier for you, and giving yourself like measurable goals. I think that's always helpful, is, telling yourself you'll do this much, and then the reward when it's done is like, good, it's done, I don't have to stress about it, which is a huge reward during these times. Or you have sort of an external, someone cheering you on, someone who is expecting the pages, so that it makes you feel like you're being held accountable. So I think those are my two. That's what I'm trying out right now, and I'll let you know how successful it is, what works better, if I have any impressions after doing this. It is going to be different for me, and then I'm probably going to, because I also have to do revisions for My Mechanical Romance, so I think it's going to be sort of the first time where I work on something every day, but just in small pieces, as opposed to what I used to do, which is devote like 2 days a week, full days, to one project. And now I don't have that attention span anymore. So I'm just trying to accept my limitations and go with that. And I think that that's kind of the best thing that I can do for myself right now. I know that it can be hard, if you're someone like me who has very high expectations for yourself, or perhaps a fear of failure that kind of makes you feel like you don't even want to do things because you're afraid they're not going to come out right. You kind of just have to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know how good the, writing sprints are going to be, but I'm trying something different. It's something that I know I can do. It's not going to cost me more energy than I can give. So just trying to adjust my expectations to the person that I am under these circumstances, and accept that these are strange times, and still try to do what I can. But so I think that's it. I added a lot to my aging comments last week, just as sort of another separate thought I was having, where we talked about how unfair it is for people to say, oh, she looks so young, and for that to be a compliment. But we didn't really discuss why people do that, and mostly because it doesn't have to be a discussion, because I think we all implicitly understand that. But I did sort of want to add on to the idea that just sort of the injustice of the fact that like the dad bod is still desirable, it's still fuckable. The mom bod is not really a thing unless it's a joke. I wrote a little bit about that. I mean, that's not, and the dad bod doesn't really even apply to men of color either. So it's a very limited thing, but anyway, I wrote a little bit about that. That'll be in here. My story, The Morning After, is available for you to read. Please do. I would love it. Which leaves only one story left. So Calabrina's story will post next week. And I think next week will probably be my last video for a while, and then we'll start up in January, just to take a little break and stuff. But anyway, this has been me, Olivie Blake, not writing. And I'll see you next week.